we're back. And welcome to another episode of Dude's Midnight Podcast. Hey, KK, you forgot to laugh, you dumbass.
Oh, I didn't know how to do it.
Well, you did it last time, though. There you go, there you go. You did it last time, now you gotta do it every time. People expect it and shit. It's part of the intro. You dick.
Okay. All
right,
cool.
Now you know. We're back, motherfuckers. Got another episode of these Midnight Podcasts. The one show where once a month on a full moon at 9 p.m., not at midnight, we fucking go over weird conspiracy theories. We used to go over pedophilia in the government, but we can't anymore because we got a strike and we don't want to get banned. Aliens and things that go bump in the night. Shit that your mom says is not real, but you know it is. She doesn't know shit because she didn't go to college or she's not educated like you. So you know better. That's the kind of show we do around here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tonight,
we said too many truths, and that's why they fucking banned us.
Yeah. We said the truth, only the truths. Tonight, on this midnight full moon, we're gonna discuss 3 evil geniuses in our history, Kike.
All right.
They say that there's a fine line between a genius and a madman, a serial killer. They're basically the same thing in a way.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know science, but that's what they say, and I believe them.
We're definitely not those people.
No, we're not. We're simple folk. We're good Christian men. Yeah, and we practice the law. Yeah.
We follow the law. We don't practice it. We're not judges.
That's true. Yeah, we're not educated. Anyways,
he's not educated.
These 3 geniuses from the past left an impact in today's modern world and will forever be known for their impact on the modern world. And they, all 3 of them, their paths and their geniuses and their madness intersected at one point in their lives.
Interesting.
Yeah. But before we get to that story where they intersect, let's find out a little bit about each of them individually. We're gonna start with the man known as the scientific swindler, L. Ron Hubbard. Y'all know him as the guy who made the cult of Scientology? Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk a little bit about this motherfucker, Kike. This guy was born on March 13th, Friday the 13th, 1911. Yeah. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you because I was trying to do research and shit. I was trying to be all like educated and trying to be all like, corrective and shit. And apparently it's hard to find out facts about what really happened on his growing up. Because apparently this motherfucker made up a lot of his own history to make himself look like a badass for his followers in that cult that he made. So no one really knows what's real and what's not as far as how he grew up. So we
know that he loved fantasy stuff, and he created a lot of fantasy too. Thus, the creation of a religion.
Yeah. But apparently, he did, or I don't know if he did. This is all rumors. But they claim that he grew up living all over the world because his dad was in the military and they lived in China and Japan and Guam. And every time he went, he wrote down in his diary the way he saw people, and he saw them like he was racist. He said like these people are disgusting and these people are brown and shit. He would write in his little book and shit. He sucked at school, Kike. He was a nerd, but he was a dumb nerd. He was always failing, and he only wanted to write little short stories and be pretending in fantasy worlds. He didn't want to pay attention in class and shit. He was one of those kids, you know what I'm saying? Apparently, he also sucked at college too, Kike. He was always on academic probation because of his grades, and they always told him...
There's usually a correlation. If you suck in, elementary, you're going to suck in college too.
Yeah. So they always told him, hey, you don't keep your grades up, we're not going to give you a financial aid, you motherfucker. And so And in 1932, his father decided to volunteer him to the Red Cross because he was a fuck up. He wasn't going to do nothing with his life. So I said, let me volunteer him. And he put him in the Red Cross. And because he was just being at home a bum. And that's where he met his wife, Margaret Polly Grubb. He got married with her. And they had 2 kids. But unfortunately, that wasn't enough to make him a man. Apparently, losing your virginity to a chick overseas didn't make him a man. And having kids, he was still a bum. He didn't have a job and shit. And so he would write short stories and to the newspaper, little fantasy stories about a man going a rocket to the moon and shit. Some guy with a gun and like Star Wars and shit. And they would be published, you know, because nobody thought about going to the moon or rockets and shit. It was like, that's like witchcraft. That's not even real back then. So no one thought about that. But the motherfucker, for whatever reason, thought about it. He was writing little stories and they were getting published. You know, that's how he first started and shit. That's the way he first started. Well, one day in 1938, they said that he had a dental procedure because his tooth was hurting or something.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And they put him under anesthesia. And he had an out-of-body experience.
They probably gave him acid.
Yeah. He says that he had some experience, and when he came back from the experience, that he got like this thing that he wanted to write all of a sudden, and he called it the Book of Excalibur or some shit.
Oh.
The Book of Excalibur later on, through the years, it later evolved into what they call now Dianetics, which is the science that Scientology uses. So, I mean, it was some shit that supposedly he got while he was on drugs, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, put this on, it'll fix you, I tell you.
Yeah. In 1941, because I guess his dad still wanted him to be a man and shit, he decided to join the Navy because that's where real men join the Navy. They don't join the Marines or the Army or the Armed Forces. They join the Navy so they can be on a boat trapped with men in the ocean for a long time.
Yeah, that's how you become a man.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Take it in the ass. He joined the Navy, and guess what? They made him a lieutenant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they gave him his own gunship, and he was off. He was sailing off with commanding with guns and torpedoes and shit. And then
he probably worked really hard as a sailor.
He probably did. He was the best at his job. Oh yeah! Cheers, Robert Hubbard.
Cheers, man.
Well, his career in the Navy didn't last long. It only lasted 2 years. In 1943, this dumbass that was off the port of Oregon, this battleship, and he spotted an enemy submarine.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And so, you know, there was like, holy shit. It's the Russians, it's the Chinese, it's the goddamn Cubans. We're being attacked. And this motherfucker, he's... everybody to the post, command. They started firing and shooting torpedoes at this fucking submarine. And for the next 68 hours, they unloaded on artillery into the ocean that hasn't been seen since the Civil War back in the day, Kike. He was blowing the shit out of the ocean for 68 hours, this crazy son of a bitch.
It was a hump well.
But it was actually worse, Kike. It turned out to be a big floating log in the ocean. So
I gave him too much credit.
Yeah, this is a true story, by the way. I'm not making this shit up. So they discharged him. You're fired from the Navy, you dumbass. For being a fuck up. They fired his ass. And so there he is, a fuck up in 1941, 45. And he's there with his wife and his kids. He still doesn't have a job. He's still not a man. And he says, well, you know what? I can get jobs writing for Hollywood. I can make movie scripts and shit, which he did for a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, he did. I think he did, I forget what other shit he did. I don't remember. But he wrote some shit, and I think it got done. But he wanted to move to California so he could become famous and make some money and shit. And his wife refused to say, you're crazy and you're a bum and a loser and I'm fucking this black guy next door. So that's it, we're done. And she divorced him, kept the kids. And so this asshole moved to California to pursue later what would become the future of a unknown religion. But I'm gonna stop right there. We got to it because pretty soon he's gonna intersect with these other geniuses.
We'll leave him there in California, Hollywood.
California. And we're gonna talk about our second genius. and probably, honestly, the most infamous, well-known, evil genius on this list, on this trifecta. And it's none other than the Beast 666 himself, Aleister Crowley Kike, the most evilest man that's ever been born.
Or as I call him, Uncle Fester.
Yeah, he does look like Uncle Fester. You think that Uncle Fester, they took the look from him?
It looks pretty similar. I'm guessing maybe yes.
Yeah. Well, this motherfucker was born in October 12th, 1875. Kike, he's a Libra like us. Oh
shit.
Yeah, cheers!
Hey, cheers. That deserves a little bit of the booze.
We could have been like him, Kike, but wait till you see his life. So this motherfucker was actually white and privileged. He was born into a wealthy family, Kike.
Oh, unlike us.
Yeah, unfortunately, his dad started a cult. He started the Christian Plymouth Brethren of Worshippers Church or whatever. And they were super into God and Jesus Christ. And I mean like super into it, that even though he was rich and had a lot of money and wealthy, he taught that being rich and wealthy was forbidden, and enjoying life was forbidden. And so even though they were rich, they had to live like poor people to humble themselves before God and the brethren. And yeah, so they were rich, but they lived like poor people, bro.
I actually respect that.
Yeah, that's what you think. Wait till you hear some more of this shit.
If I had money, I would live like a poor too. I'd be like, man, it's okay, I have money.
Fuck that, I'd buy like a gold car and gold chains and fucking 3-story houses and shit. Get swimming pool with bitches every night. I pay them to come over.
That's how people get to know you. You don't want that. Yeah. I'd rather be on, out of the scene.
Yeah, anyways. His father, Kike, his father later died of tongue cancer from spitting all his lies with his serpent tongue. In 1887, he died. And when the father died, they gave him all the wealth. He inherited all the wealth because he was the son, the only son.
He was like, we were rich? What the fuck, Dad?
Sorry, I thought I heard a noise. It's getting creepy here, Kike.
Is this the reason why we don't do it at midnight?
Yeah, for real.
Okay.
But anyways, there was a problem with him being rich and getting his father's wealth. Apparently, he was a malnutrition, skinny kid.
Oh, really?
Because the father was making him live like poor, so they only ate like potatoes and breads like once a week, and they drank fucking like goat's milk because they didn't want to. They didn't want to be fancy and drink cow's milk.
That's for rich boys.
Yeah.
Drink this milk. It smells funny. I don't care.
Yeah. So he was malnutrition and he was really sick all the time, and they went to go see the doctor. They took him to the doctor. The doctors told his mom like, hey, y'all fucked up. You didn't raise the kid right, and he's gonna die soon. He's gonna die. And the mom felt bad, and so she sent him to his uncle. Like, hey,
I want to go to this doctor. This doctor sounds cool.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what? Y'all fucked up.
Yeah. They did. They fucked up. And so the mom sent him to the uncle. Like, it's like, hey, like, can you fucking take him and see? Like,
fucked up. Can you fix him up?
So I went to go live with his uncle, and his uncle was a badass. He was living like a normal person. He was eating right 3 times a day. He was partying, drinking, and all this shit.
Yeah.
And so the uncle said, "Well, so you're gonna start living like me, motherfucker." And slowly, he started gaining weight.
Yeah.
And he got strong again. And in fact, the uncle even like taught him all about fucking drinking and drugs, and he even bought him.
Of course.
Yeah, he even bought him his first prostitute at the age of 15, so he can lose his virginity. And so Aleister came back to his mom, all healthy.
It's my time, boy.
Yeah.
You lose your virginity.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Aleister went back to his mom, all healthy and fucking like no longer a virgin. And he hated his mom, and he told her, you know what? You guys were killing me. I was dying and shit because of the stupid religious cult, and fuck you and God and Jesus and all this bullshit. And he said, and in act of defiance, he says, I'm gonna go against everything you've been teaching me. All of this shit about Christ and God, I'm gonna go against it because now I know it's a lie. You're trying to kill me and shit with your bullshit. And the first act of defiance, he decided to fuck the maid in his mom's bed. And the mom came home and saw it. Like he was like literally straddling her like doggy style. And the mom walked in and he was like this. He didn't even have a nice. He was like while he was fucking the maid. And so the mom freaked out. It was all like, oh my God, Jesus and shit. And they fired the maid. And then the mom chastised the maid and spread rumors all around the town. And nobody wanted to hire the maid because they thought they were gonna fuck their sons and shit. And so she didn't have a job and she had kids to feed. And so the maid, Kike, she had to become a prostitute.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So her life was ruined because of Alistair.
Wow.
That's crazy, right? Right.
I mean, no pun intended, but he really fucked her up.
Yeah, he really did. But he was really smart, unlike the other dumbass L. Ron Hubbard. This guy was smart. He even got into Cambridge University, the original Cambridge over there in the Britons, not the one in America. They're over here in America. They're dumb compared to the ones in Britons. And so he joined the university in 1895. And when he was there, he met a guy, and his name was Herbert Charles Pollitt. Yeah. And the guy was super woke as fuck. I mean, he fucking would actually dress in drag in the weekends and would go dance, and he called himself Diane de Rogie. Yeah. And so that's when Alistair realized, I think I'm bi because I'm horny for this fucking guy. This guy dresses up like a girl with a penis, and he was in love with him, and he wrote poems to him and all his shit. But he wasn't afraid of him liking a guy because he said, well, the Christians, they were telling me that it's wrong, and I'm going against everything they taught me, so this has to be right. And so he went, yeah. And so he went along with his feelings. He stayed to his promise. He said, I'm gonna do everything the opposite of what they taught me because I know it's wrong. And so he was being fucking woke as fuck. He was really smart though, Kike. In Cambridge, he won a lot of he joined the chess club like a nerd, and he won a lot of competitions. He won competitions. He was the smartest one there and shit. But he was only in college 3 years, Kike. He got kicked out because he was having sex with prostitutes in the dorm rooms, and they caught him. They caught him when they found out he had gonorrhea. He had to go to a doctor. He had gonorrhea from fucking prostitutes.
Gonorrhea.
Yeah. But he was really interested in because he really was determined to do everything the opposite of what he was taught. And he said, well, I gotta get into the devil. I gotta get into magic because that's the devil. And so he found a club, and it was called it was an underground club. It was secret, and it was actually founded by 3 ex-Freemasons, and they called it the Golden Dawn. And the Golden Dawn was a bunch of smart motherfuckers who went to college and shit. They thought they were better than anybody, and they all said they liked the Egyptian magic and Kabbalistic rituals and Wiccan, and so that's what they went there and talked about it and did stuff with each other and whatever the fuck. And he joined this little group. But guess what? I didn't even know this, but apparently Bram Stoker, the guy who wrote Dracula, he was a member of the Golden Dawn.
Of course.
Yeah. So all these nerds believe they can do magic and shit, and he joined them. But they didn't trust him, Kike, because they kind of thought he was like evil, and they thought maybe he was gonna use the secrets to do evil things.
You know all this evil thing that we do in this group? Yes. Well, I don't like Crowley. He gives me the jeepers creepers.
Yeah. He might use this power for even worse things than what we're doing.
Yeah.
But they still allowed him to be in there because he was really smart. They kind of liked him, but at the same time, they didn't trust him and shit. He married one of his friend's sisters, Kike. Her name was Rose Edith Kelly, and this was in 1903. Shit, a long time ago.
That is a long time ago.
He took her one time on a honeymoon to Egypt. Now, it's just a rumor because I read several stories.
Yeah.
Some say it happened in a hotel. Some say it happened in a temple. But there's a story that says that he took her inside the Great Pyramid into the king's chamber, and they spent the night there. And they performed rituals, and they were trying to summon Egyptian gods so they could talk to them and give them, instructions on what to do.
Oh, let's be honest here. They were fucking in there.
That's we'll get to that in a little bit. Yeah. Don't get ahead of yourself, Kike. God damn it.
I mean, that's what I would do. I'm just thinking.
Don't worry. That's what rituals involve sex. All right, don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm. What are we gonna do with this ram's fucking head? Don't worry about it.
Just sit your ass down. Let me do it all. Anyways, during one of the rituals, this lady passes out and started convulsing and shit, having a seizure or something. And when she came back, she said, "Hey, I got a message from one of the gods." And he got fucking pissed when she told him that. He got fucking pissed. He's calling her a dumb bitch. Like, you don't know magic? Like, you just met me yesterday, and all of a sudden, you're like, yeah, the gods are gonna talk to you. I've been doing magic for years. No one's ever talked to me, you lying bitch. He was mad. He was mad.
Jealous.
Yeah, he was jealous. And she was like, I swear, I heard a voice. And he's like, all right, let's go to the fucking Egyptian museum, and you go point me to the god that you talked to, you fucking liar. And she fucking went. By herself, she went up to the exhibit number 666. And guess
Holy
what
shit.
Egyptian god it was?
Ra?
It was Horus, the son of
shit.
Ra. Yeah.
Damn.
It was Horus. Yeah. And so from then on, this guy believed her. It's like, damn, I guess they did talk to her. And she said, like, they gave me instructions to tell you and shit. And so that's where they slowly came up with this religion. It wasn't called this back then, but it slowly evolved into what they call now Thelema, the Church of Thelema. They got a lot of things they believe in, but the main law, the number one principle, the thing that they live by is do as thou wilt, which means do whatever the fuck you want as long as it pleases you. That's basically what it means. And this is a lot of the basis and foundations for every satanic cult and religion in the present day. And most rock stars and rappers and pop stars and porn stars believe in the rule of do as thou wilt. I've seen shirts that people are wearing it says do as thou wilt. And that's where this comes from. He started this shit. They started it. But in 1912, he had already established several books, and he kind of started this movement in a church, the Church of Thelema. And he was trying to copy the Golden Dawn. He said, man, fuck these nerds. I'm better than them because we saw visions and instructions. I don't need to be with these fucking nerds in their Golden Dawn. I'll make my own cult. And so he was calling this order, the secret order, the Ordo Templi Orientis, or the OTO. And in 1923, he decided to open a sect or an order from the OTO, and he called it the Abbey of Thelema. And this was in Sicily, Italy, Kike. This is where it gets crazy. And all this is true, what I'm about to tell you, because you're going to think I'm exaggerating. I wish I was. But in this little hut, it was a hut, a broken down shack, Kike, in the middle of the country, just like far away from the city and civilization, little hut. And that's where he would bring in the new members who were trying to get into the Church of Thelema, and he would train them and initiate them and shit. But basically, they would live there for months. They were living there for months, these people, with him, and they had literal sex magic orgies. They would do drugs. They would starve themselves for days and binge orgasms for days with no food or water, trying to perform these rituals. The rumor is that they would shit and piss on the floor, have sex all over it. They would have sex with animals like goats and rabbits, and then they would sacrifice them. They would have sex covered in animal blood. At one point, one person died from a liver infection because they drank cat's blood. Yeah. And then when that guy died, the rumor, everything was getting out, what they were doing, and people were complaining. That's when Mussolini himself stepped in.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. He went down there. He knocked on the door. Get the fuck out of this country. You're banned. You're not allowed here, you sick son of a bitch. And he kicked him the fuck out, and that place has been condemned. And to this place, that little hut's still there, and no one goes there, dude. But it's still there.
Oh, wow.
People can go visit it during the day. It's less scary during the day, but you don't way in hell you want to go at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, if Mussolini fucking was, giving him the creeps, imagine.
Yeah, dude. Mussolini himself said we need to get this sick pervert out of here. They're drinking cat's blood and fucking all over it. Fuck that shit.
Get the fuck out of my country. You're making me nervous.
Yeah, they banned him. But now that you know Aleister Crowley and right there what he's established to that point, want to move on to the final genius before they intersect in life, because they all cross paths with one another. And it's none other than the real Tony Stark, Jack Parsons. Jack Parsons is another Libra who was born on October 2nd, 1914. Cheers, Jack Parsons!
Cheers. Wow.
This guy looks exactly like Howard Stark in the MCU. And I think Kevin Feige took like literally the look of Jack Parsons for the MCU to make it into Howard Stark. I mean, it's obvious.
Yeah.
But anyways, this guy, actually his name is not Jack Parsons. He was actually born with the name of Marvel Whiteside Parsons. His name is Marvel, Kike.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Wow.
This guy's the real Tony Stark. Now check it out.
That's crazy.
His parents got divorced though, because his mom found out that his dad was fucking prostitutes. So the parents got divorced, and the mom separated and took Marvel with her, and from then on, they just called him Jack. And he said, "Yeah, I don't want to be Marvel. That's the name my dad gave me, that pervert. So I'll just be Jack." Shit. And so he was Jack Parsons from then on. I think he was 12 years old when that shit happened. But when he was a kid, this guy also was kind of dumb as fuck. He had dyslexia, Kike. And he was never diagnosed. But he had dyslexia, and he was dumb, and he sucked at school. Bad grades and all that shit. But he really liked to read. And he read a lot of science fiction novels, Jules Verne, and you know, To the Moon and all that shit. And he always dreamt about like going to the moon. And everybody said that, number one, that shit's kind of thinking is satanic, they would tell him. And number two, that's fantasy. You're just reading it in books. Humans cannot go fly to the moon. We cannot even fly, period. You know what I'm saying? Only
God can go to the moon.
Yeah. They were like that and shit.
Humble yourself against God. Don't do that. Don't go to the moon.
Yeah. But he met another kid who was also kind of fucking a nerd, but he was bigger and he kind of protected him and shit. But he was also a nerd, and his name was Edward Foreman. And
I thought you were going to say Bucky. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah,
we have like the comic book here.
That would have been something, right?
That would be cool. But
Edward Foreman became his best friend, and they would go to the backyard and try to, like, they would buy fireworks. Because they were dumb. You know, they were not smart kids. But they were just nerds and weird looking. But they went and they bought a bunch of fireworks. And they were taking out the gunpowder in it and the shit. And they were trying to figure out, well, how can we recreate it? How do we make it? Or how do we do this? And they were always blowing shit up in the backyard, basically. The mom thought they were just being kids, but little did she know what was really going on in this little boy's mind. He's 12 years old when this shit's happening, by the way. So when he was 12, he made a promise to himself that he was going, like, everyone made fun of him, but he said, I'm going to make a rocket and we're going to go to the fucking moon. I'm going to be the guy who does it, he said. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to make this happen, even if I have to sell my soul to Satan. This is a 12-year-old boy saying this. And so one night, he decided he found a book in the library and he found a ritual and he said, I'm gonna fucking make this ritual and summon the devil so I can ask him, like,
the book. How to summon the devil.
Yeah. And so he performed a ritual, Kike, and he wanted to invent a rocket. He didn't care. And so he performed a ritual and he tried to get the devil to appear in front of him. But there was like a thunderstorm or some shit outside and it scared him because he thought he saw something. And he swore he was never gonna fuck around with magic again.
He wants to summon the devil, but he got scared of fucking.
He's 12.
Thunder.
He was 12,
Okay.
Kike. He was 12.
Okay.
Calm down.
Well, come on. You gotta fucking look at the consequence. Okay, I believe you. He is dumb.
He was 12 and he's dumb and dyslexic. All right. Don't give him some trouble. Okay, you're a little autistic too, Kike. You're a little autistic too. Anyways, when he was 21, Kike, he got married. to Helen Northrup, with some chick who lived down the street or something. And he was happy because he's no longer a virgin. He finally got to have sex and he got a first taste of real pussy. He's like, oh shit. So he was happy. But he was still friends with his old time Edward Foreman. And since they were fucking dumb as fuck, and they fucking, didn't go to school, they had to get jobs wherever, and he was still obsessed with wanting to make a rocket. So fucking
was he 15 and already a homeowner as well?
He was 21.
From working.
He was 21. No,
yeah.
He decided to go work at a gunpowder company to try to learn what gunpowder is made of and how it works and shit. So he was working at gunpowder and he learned all these chemicals by himself, dyslexic, not going, no education. And then these two guys, him and his friend Edward Foreman, they went to the college to listen to lectures. They went and sat in. They're not even there. They don't even pay for college, but they went in there and they sat down. And they met some guy, and his name was Frank Malina. He's another motherfucker who started this. They met Frank Malina, and they were talking to him about explosives, and the guy was interested. Like, hey, you guys are pretty smart. And then little did he know that they were actually dumb as fuck. But he decided to introduce him to their teacher, and the teacher was Theodore von Karman, some German shit that came over. Yeah. And he had a laboratory, and he said, well, if you kids are curious, you can work on this laboratory all you want. And so from then and there, they made
you see, back when I was a Nazi.
Yeah. You can work here all you want. And so from then on, they all decided that they were going to try to build a rocket together in the lab and shit. And there was explosions all the time. And because there was explosions all the time, the campus and the people, the other students, they gave them the name, the Suicide Squad.
Oh, now Daisy is opening their ears.
Yeah. So they're getting inspiration from this Kike. Yeah, this is the real Tony Stark, and he's the one that made the Suicide Squad, bitches. Fuck you, DC. Yeah.
Wasn't that lady?
But Parsons managed to create a mixture that made rocket fuel burn for a longer duration. It would last longer burning. And they actually made the first JATO rocket, and it took off from the ground and shit. And the US Air Force saw it when they did it, and right away they said, shit, we're gonna give you money. You're gonna open the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. They called it the JPL. Secretly, JPL was for Jack Parsons Laboratory. That's what but they called it the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. They gave them money and made this laboratory at the age of 23 with no education.
Wow.
Dumb as fuck with dyslexia. JPL, I mean, for those of us that know, JPL, Kike, in our modern day, JPL went on to become NASA, basically. That rocket program turned into modern day NASA, basically.
See, only in America, man, can a guy have a dream and become the smartest guy, even though he's the dumbest one.
Yeah. And so from then on, the money started coming in, Kike, left and right and shit. They were making rockets. And so he decided to buy a mansion in Pasadena, California, and he called it the Parsonage.
Okay.
Yeah.
This guy has too much swagger.
Yeah, the Parsonage. Well, here is where their lives intersect, all three of them, and all hell literally breaks loose. There you go. This is 1945 when the Parsonage was opened in Pasadena, California. And Jack Parsons, he wanted to get more into the occult and shit, you know?
Yeah.
And he started to read Aleister.
How can I do this without Satan? I mean, come on.
Yeah. And he started to read Aleister Crowley's books and the things about the Lima and all that shit. And then he decided to write letters to Aleister Crowley. And you know, Aleister Crowley has no friends, and so he responds to everybody who writes him letters. So he responded back to this kid, and he liked him. He's like, I like this kid's pretty smart. You know, he's building rockets. That's like some Satanist shit. Yeah, I'm down. And so he told him,
What,
funny
you burn some shit and you make it explode? What the fuck, man? Where can we fucking see each other? Let's do this.
Yeah. So they got together and they funneled some money and they also gave him some fucking rituals and books and shit and literature and kind of like theology of how they run the Church of Thelema and the OTOs. And he says, I want you to open up there in Pasadena a section, you know, like what do they call a division of a chapter of the OTOs. Mm-hmm. And Parsons like, fuck yeah. And he goes, I already have a mansion. I'm calling it the Parsonage. The Parsonage could be another sect of the OTO. Let's do it. And so Jack Parsons put a fucking ad on the newspaper. And the newspaper was all like that they were lodging all weirdos, hippies, druggies, sex addicts, Satanists, communists, any fucking homosexual and free thinkers were welcomed. Basically. So all these weirdos started showing up. And they started having sex orgies because Aleister Crowley was showing them the rituals and shit that they needed to do. And the belief was that if they all focused on the same thought while they were all fucking, when people would have orgasms, that thought would manifest. And since they're all thinking the same thing, they could make it happen. The problem is that one guy was thinking of the chick's titties, and the other guy was thinking of her hairy pussy, and another guy was thinking of the asshole. So nothing ever happened because they were all thinking of the different things when they were fucking. Exactly. But anyways, for whatever reason, Kike, Jack Parsons' wife didn't like any of this, and she divorced him.
Come on, open your mind.
Yeah, she divorced him. And she said, I've had enough of this. I've been with you for 1 year, and we're having orgies every night, and I don't know who the fuck this black guy is. I'm done. Yeah, I don't know.
Pussy hurts. God damn it.
Yeah. I'm done. But luckily for Jack, his wife's sister, Sarah Northrup, had no problem being in orgies with black guys. So
I'm a pervert.
Yeah. So she became his new girlfriend. And moved in to the parsonage. Oh, yeah.
This motherfucker.
Yeah. Later, Kike, one night, a redheaded, curly-haired, redheaded ginger swindler by the name of L. Ron Hubbard showed up there at the parsonage. Yeah. And right away, he was a hit at the party. Yeah. They loved him. He was telling them all these crazy stories, and Jack Parson, he loves science fiction and rockets. And this guy's talking about stories about going to Mars and aliens and shit. And so these guys all like, I love this guy and his mind. Everything he's saying is great. And right away, he offered, here's my girlfriend, Sarah. Have sex with her, please, in front of me. And Ron Hubbard's all like, well, okay. And so he fucked her. He was fucking in front of him. And then Jack Parsons like chanting, Abude Bunda Bundala, Adumbe Bunda Bundala, while they're fucking in front of him and shit.
I thought you were going to break into Michael Jackson. Mama say, Mama say, Mama Musa. Mama say, Mama say, Mama Musa.
That might have been one. And shit.
Yeah.
And, L. Ron was all like, this is fucking awesome. There's a house here in California that is not charging me rent. It's full of fucking idiots, and they're letting me fuck their girlfriends, and they're not getting mad. This is awesome. Fuck my wife.
Ginger, nobody likes me.
Yeah. He's like, fuck my wife and fuck my kids. I found a good place now. Oh, yeah. And all I gotta do is tell them these silly stories about space and rockets and shit. I've been writing for years. So that's how he joined. He ended up joining and shit.
Yeah.
And
big break.
Yeah. And Jack Parsons was super obsessed with this ritual that he was trying to invent, and he wanted to impregnate a woman that would give birth to the Antichrist.
Okay.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And Aleister Crowley, when Jack Parsons was writing to Aleister Crowley, reporting how, because, he's in charge of the lodge. Tell me what you're doing down there. Do I have to go down there and spank people or fuck someone? So he would go and report.
No, sir. Everything's taken care of. We're fucking left and right. Everything's going, hey, okay.
Yeah. There was no phone back then. They're writing letters. Yeah. It was back then.
Tico, 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 taco, taco, tico, 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 taco, taco.
Yeah. Well, Crowley got mad and was all like, God damn it, like Jack's over here trying to invent rituals to give birth to the Antichrist. This kid's too ambitious and shit. But you know what? I'm gonna let him continue because he's really introducing a lot of kids to drugs and sex, and that's fucking badass. So I'm gonna let him keep doing his thing. He says
next on the agenda, let's make rap a thing.
Yeah. As long as they're being evil, keep doing your thing. Was basically what Crowley was saying. Hubbard, well, he was fucking Sarah Northrop all the time by this point. 2 months had gone by. They had done a lot of rituals, but at this point, L. Ron Hubbard was fucking the shit out of her all the time. Even when there was no rituals, he was just fucking her and shit. And Jack was too much of a pussy to go and say something about him like, hey, can you not fuck my girlfriend unless I offer her to you? But he didn't give a fuck. And so instead, Jack just never said anything, and he decided to find a new bitch. Like a pussy. He just like, well, whatever. And he went to his room crying, and he performed a ritual. And his ritual, they say that he manifested his next girlfriend, who he later married, and this lady's name was Marjorie Cameron. And he says that she was an elemental, and that she was the one he was gonna get pregnant and give birth to the Antichrist. It never happened.
Thank God. I mean, that would be all over the news.
Yeah.
Extra, read all about it. Satan came out. What the fuck?
Well, at this point, L. Ron Hubbard, he was really getting bored with his magic bullshit, and he decided, you know what? I need to find a way to get the fuck out of here and get some money from these fucking nerds. And he and Sarah, which was Jack's ex-girlfriend, they convinced Jack to open up a boat business. They said, hey, how about we go to the East Coast, we buy boats, we'll sail them to the East Coast, and then we'll refurbish them and sell them at twice the price to these assholes over here in the fucking Hamptons. And Jack was all like, that's a pretty good idea. And so Jack gave them...
But what about Satan?
Yeah. Well, he wanted to make money. He didn't want to make money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so Jack gave them all his savings, which was 20 grand.
Jesus.
They took off to the East Coast, and they never came home.
Of course.
Yeah. So Aleister Crowley found out about this, and he got fucking pissed. He told Jack, you're a fucking idiot, and you're a fake magician, and none of your rituals have ever worked. You're a dumbass and a weak fool. You got swindled by some ginger. He was fucking angry. Yeah. And he says some science fiction writer tricked you, you idiot. So Jack got mad, and Jack fucking left to Miami. He found them in Miami. They had 3 yachts they had bought with their $20,000 and shit. And when Jack Parsons got there, they saw him and they took off to sea. Yeah, in one of the boats to escape. And then Jack saw like, fuck you. And he right away made a pentagram on the sand and lit some candles. And he was all like making some chants. And he caused a big storm. And the sails broke and they were stuck out at sea. And eventually were brought back and shit. And this is true.
Like, wow, I really did that?
Yeah, he did kick it. He was a powerful magician at that point. It's crazy.
He called Aleister. I did it, man. Fuck you. You see? My magic works, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. So once they were in court, they forced Hubbard to pay him back the money. And he was going to sue Sarah, but she threatened him saying, if you try to sue me, I'm gonna take you to court for statutory rape because we were having orgies when I was 17. I wasn't even legal yet.
And he's like, oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Hey, let's shake on it, huh?
Yeah. So, like every normal court, they promised to pay him back to 20 grand. L. Ron Hubbard left with 2 of the boats. Only one was left in the possession of fucking Jack Parsons. But by the time it was all over with lawyer fees and all that shit, fucking Jack Parsons only had $2,900 to his name. He was broke and poor. And Crowley says, you can no longer be in the church and shit and do all that fucking shit.
Why? Well,
yeah,
you don't
yeah.
have money. Really?
Yeah. At the
Yeah, really?
At the same time, it gets even worse. At the same time this was happening, it turns out, because this guy is working at JPL, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory for the United States government. The FBI is keeping an eye on their employees, seeing what they're doing after work. And they knew everything this guy was doing, the sex and the magic and all this weird shit. And so the FBI had a file this big on Jack Parsons already.
Yeah.
And then they found out that he took some literal blueprints to a rocket back to his home. And Jax was all like, it was a mistake. Like, I just brought it home and shit. Like, and they said, nah, you're up to something and shit. You're fired. And we're going to call all
Joe Biden? I mean, Parsons?
Yeah. You're fired. They told him, you're fired. And we don't believe you. And we're going to call every fucking space engineering place here in America, and you're not going to be able to be hired anywhere. You're done for trying to steal plans from the American government. And so then this guy was all like, well, fuck, like, what am I going to do? And so, because he was broke, and he had just been married to this redhead and shit, and shit.
Yeah.
So he decided to go back to work like a normal American, and he went to work at a gunpowder company. So where he first started, bro. And he was working like a low-level
Second
motherfucking
Amendment,
employee.
baby.
Yeah. He went back down to the bottom of the rung. He was at the top of the mountain. He went back to the bottom of the fucking rung and shit. And
Bottom of the barrel, the gun barrel.
Yeah. But he decided that he wanted to keep on trying to make rockets to go to the moon. And so he decided he was going to move with his family, save enough money with that job, and save enough money and travel to Israel and try to get a job in Israel so that he can make rockets for them. That's what he wanted to do. That was his next dream. The day before, he was supposed to get on that plane with his family because he was working. He promised the gunpowder company, I'll work till the last day, and then the next day I'll leave. It's fine. I just need the money. I need the money. He on his last day, the day before he was gonna leave to Israel, there's an explosion at the gunpowder company. Coincidentally, only he dies. They say a hole was blown on the right side of his fucking face. He lost his right arm. The bones on his left arm and both legs were completely shattered and broken. He was still alive, and they took him to the hospital, and he died at the hospital in a lot of pain. He died.
Shit.
And unfortunately, his mom, when she found out, killed herself 3 hours after she found out, the same day.
Damn.
Yeah. To this day, everybody says conspiracies that the FBI, CIA, whatever you want to call them, the Illuminati, they killed him because they didn't want him going to Israel to build rockets over there.
I wonder why.
Yeah, they didn't want Israel to go to the moon before Americans did. This guy died at the age.
They really didn't like the Jews back then, huh?
Yeah, they haven't
They're
ever.
like, them? You're gonna work with them? Fuck you.
37. He died at 37. Right now, we already outlived him.
Damn. I know.
Yeah, and he's
Crazy,
accomplished like a lot more than we ever will.
Well, there's a lesson there. Don't do much, and nothing will happen to you.
That's true. This guy was the real life Tony Stark, and without his efforts and sexual magic, real rituals, the engines for the rockets that they blast off into NASA, the fuel that they still use to this day, would never be
fucked up.
Yeah, would never be possible.
Still using that technology.
It's not technology. It's the mixture of the jet fuel that he came up with so that it can burn for longer. Because once you set it on fire, it burns and it goes off quickly. He made it so it lasts long enough to take us into space. He was a genius. with no
Yes,
education.
Satan. Hey, so what do you guys do over there down there?
Well, this is the thing. This is the kind of stuff that we do. I mean, this is why, it keeps on going. It's pretty hot, man. It's pretty hot. You're gonna use this kind of love.
Yeah. Be careful. You don't want to blow yourself up. Werner von Braun, Kike, that German Nazi fucking scientist who they call the aerospace engineer. He's the father of the American lunar program in NASA. He even said in the interview, he says that NASA's only here because of Jack Parsons and no one's ever given him credit for it. He's the real father of the fucking space program, even, because he had the dream and he was chasing it before anyone else was.
Yeah, and Von Braun was just they were making him do it.
Yeah.
Come on, you know this stuff. You did it for the Nazis. Come on, you son of a bitch. Okay, I'll do it, motherfuckers.
Well, L. Ron Hubbard, he took off in the boats. He got 2 boats with his new wife, the ex Sarah from Jack Parsons. And while he was out at sea, he realized that how easy Aleister Crowley and Jack Parsons had brainwashed all these kids and doing drugs and having orgies. And he said, hey, I can take some of their techniques and tactics and make something. And he decided to make the Church of Scientology, swindling millions of dollars from rich know-it-all nerds who went to college and celebrities and never pay taxes to the federal government, Kike. Yeah. At one point, the church was found to have been trying to infiltrate every aspect of the American government, Kike. Either trying to convert people within the government to join, or trying to get their people to get hired so that they can fucking report back to L. Ron Hubbard what the U.S. government was doing. Yeah. He spent most of his later years hiding because the government was chasing him because the IRS wanted all this money from the tax and shit. To this day, they're still a tax-free organization. I don't know why. But this fat son of a bitch died in one of his 100 million acre homes of a stroke in January 24th, 1986 at the age of 74. And Scientology still takes millions from smart as fuck people who are being dumb as fuck. Swindled. Yeah.
AKA celebrities.
Yeah. Nah, just fucking nerds. I knew nerds. I knew a few doctors and shit that fucking were into that, idiots.
They're doctors and they're like, yeah, you just put this helmet and they read my fucking aura and shit.
Yeah,
it's fucking badass.
Exactly. I'm like, is the guy who's gonna operate on me? I don't know. Can I get the other guy, the Indian? At least he believes in an elephant with 6 arms. Those 6 arms will help during the surgery. I don't know about your aura and shit. Yeah. Well,
the janitor is like, I used to be a surgeon back in Mexico. In Oaxaca, I was the #1.
Yeah. Anyways, the last genius, the most evilest man in the world, Crowley, he continued doing his sex magic and rituals, and after a while, he realized, believe it or not, he was a sex addict.
Oh, really? I couldn't gather that from all the information.
And having sex all day with multiple people and orgasms, it wasn't enough for him. He needed more. And so he started to introduce drugs, heavy drugs, into his mixture, and he became a heroin addict. He lost all of his fortune. All of it. All of his dad's fortune, everything. He blew it all. And it wasn't until he didn't have no more money and he was lame, fat, and ugly and shit. And it wasn't until a groupie that loved him because he read all his books and shit. Her name was Deidre Patricia Doherty. She came up to him and said, I want to have a baby with you. And he was all like, well, no one has said that to me in years. Sure. And so she got him clean. She made him go to rehab and made no drugs and got 100% clean. And then he got her pregnant and they had a family for the first time in his life. This piece of shit finally realized that true fulfillment came with having a family and not sex or drugs or Satan, Kike.
Yeah.
And he died.
And on the weekends, he runs a fucking religion.
Oh, no, he was done with it. It was all done with it. It was all gone. The money, the hookers, the drugs, it was gone. He was a normal guy at the end. Pitiful. He died December 1st, 1947, 72 years of age. He had a bad case of bronchitis and a bunch of heart issues from all the drugs he did and having sex for 12 hours in orgies and shooting up heroin and drinking cat's blood and all this shit. It finally got to him, so he died. But he became a legend in his own way because he's got every Satanist in the world following his teachings, and any occultist and Kabbalistic. Hell, even the Jews. Everybody fucking follows what this guy believes. It's crazy. The Democrats, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Kamala Khan, Kevin Feige, and that other fucking bitch, Kathleen Kennedy, and shit. So yeah, these are the world's 3 evil geniuses, Kike. A fine line between a genius and a goddamn fucking lunatic. What do you think? These guys were so smart in their own ways and what they achieved in their lives. But they did change the pop culture. They changed the world. All 3 of them. You can't deny that. Yeah. It sucks that Jack Parsons had it the worst. His whole life fell apart. Then I think the government killed him.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, yeah.
It sounds like it. Oh, shit.
Yeah, duh.
Yeah, anyways. I think we're done with tonight's Midnight Podcast. Until next time, Kike, give these guys some life advice relevant to what we've been talking about to take home for the evening.
Well, I think I said it before, but you gotta keep low and be true to yourself and be a man of principle. Because if you aim too high, you might get into this kind of shit. You don't want to get into this kind of shit, man.
Yeah, there's plenty of porn out there. You don't need to actually go and do it yourself and get AIDS and shit. Just masturbate.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say for. Yeah.
Cat blood is bad for you.
Yeah, that's pretty nasty. Don't do that shit. Yeah. Cheers!
Cheers.